We're live, pal.
Mm-hmm.
Hello there, wrestling fans! And welcome to the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. I am your host, Joe the Panther Jr., and now introducing to the mic my cohort to this fun international ride, the happy heel himself, the Metal Geek.
What's up, Ringside crew? What's going on, Dudes at Ringside podcast? What's going on today? We have some special guests. What's going on, gentlemen?
Hey,
what's up, fellas? I just want you guys to know that occasionally Eddie and I go live over on the NGW Facebook page, and our intro is nowhere near as good as what you guys just pulled off there. So kudos to you guys.
Absolutely.
We try though.
That's my Howard Finkel. I always have to toss in the announcer. I was even going to do the Howard Finkel voice, but then that's only for like special occasions. He comes out of my spirit comes in me.
He just means to say this isn't a special occasion for him.
Oh, it is a special occasion. You are an owner and a promoter of a certain thing. There we go. That's my Howard Finkel for you. Go ahead.
It was good, man. I liked it.
Oh, wrestlers get chills. I had big Tamaku from Texas. Big boy got chills.
You guys familiar with him or?
In his Cookie Monster voice, he went, "I got Tamaku, got goosebumps." I'm not gonna die today.
All right. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves or?
Yeah, man.
Go
ahead, Cody. You're the top dog.
Well, I guess I'm the top dog tonight. Usually Eddie doesn't say I'm the top dog, but I guess he's giving me the reins on this one. We are a couple gentlemen that we run a show out here in Tennessee called Next Generation Wrestling. And of course, we reached out to you guys to put over our show that's coming up in June. But my name is Cody Ford, and I'll let Eddie go ahead and introduce himself.
I am Eddie Shepard, guys. I have been involved with NGW since its inception with Cody. We've been doing shows pretty much consistently since 2014. And like Cody said, we're based out of Tennessee, more so East Tennessee. We've also done shows in Georgia. We were going to do a show in Virginia, but COVID kind of put a squash on that plans last year. But yeah, guys, thanks for having us on. We're really excited to be here.
Oh, no problem.
No problem. Yeah. I have a quick question. Are you guys coming to New York area at all, or you have plans or?
Man, the thing is, right now we're kind of waiting for the world to get back to normal. It's starting to seem like it's headed that direction, but we definitely are planning on traveling whenever things get back to kind of normal. But New York isn't necessarily a place that we had on our list, but I wouldn't say that we would never head up that way. Right now, we're kind of trying to branch out here in the South and expand our fan base, kind of in the states that border us. But anything's possible, and I think eventually, we definitely would like to take the show, at least countrywide. But it may take a little time before we get up there, but it's definitely in realm.
Yeah, because the New York like wrestling scene, guys. I grew up in New York, in Long Island. Geek knows. You go to an indie fed, you paid $10 a ticket, you are gonna get a show. New York wrestling promote the New York. Look them up when you get a chance when you're done with us. The New York Wrestling Connection, NYWC, they do a fantastic show. They got me hooked to the indies of the New York scene. Oh, hooked.
See, it's funny because in East Tennessee, it's the complete opposite. It's like there's terrible show after terrible show. Your sister's cousin's brother versus his half sister's uncle. In front of about 20 people. So we kind of took the task when we first started that we wanted to be, kind of set ourselves out to be something different. And like you were saying, people going to the show, our big thing is if you pay money to come to an NGW show, you're going to get your money's worth. We like to think that the card, the talent, it's a it's the best of different genres thrown together. If you want high flyers, you're going to get that. You want, some crazy, insane spots, you're going to get that. You want technical wrestlers, you're going to get that. If you want wild men who can do hardcore wrestling, we have that. So we like to think, even if you saw one match that you advertise that may interest you, then we've done our job.
Mm-hmm. Like the Davey Richards Matt Cross sounds very interesting, by the way. That match looks amazing because Davey Richards is a hell of an athlete.
Cody, you want to kind of talk about that?
Yeah, man. I mean, that was one of the first matches, I think. Was that the first match that we announced for the show, Eddie?
I don't think it was the first. It might have been, but I know that was one of the first ones we confirmed with all the talent that they were going to be in it.
Yeah, and so the thing about that match, too, is like when we announced it, everybody's like, oh, that's your main event right there. Like, that's going to be a great main event. But the thing is like the card is so stacked that that's not even the main event. But Eddie had pulled up some stuff from some old ROH footage of those guys going at it. So they have a pretty well-known history, and Davey is just getting back at it. He kind of took a hiatus there for a while, so we're excited to be kind of one of his first shows back as well. So that should be pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing about Davey Richards was we were running a show, I believe in 2018 or 2017. One of our trademark shows we do during like the Halloween season is a Nightmare on Armory Road, and we actually had Davey Richards. Pretty much, we had a graphic made and everything, and then Davey Richards messed up his knee really bad, and he pretty much kind of retired for quite a while after that. So whenever he kind of got back into the idea of wanting to come back to wrestling, he goes, "Hey, any show that basically, I couldn't make because I got hurt, reach out to me. He goes, I definitely owe you guys, for me to go work your shows." So we reached out to him, and then shortly after that, I want to say COVID happened. So it was kind of put us on the back burner. Our state regulations and everything have started to calm down quite a bit. Our active cases, dropped crazy amounts. The vaccinations and all that good stuff. But he was one of the first people whenever we announced that we were going to do this show that hit us up, and he hit us up asking if we would want to get him on the show. And absolutely, I mean, it's Davey Richards. Why would you not want a former Ring of Honor champion on your show?
Yeah, exactly. Marauder wants to know where in the South, you guys,
where we're going to run, run, or Cody, you want to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So I think I kind of mentioned earlier, we're really wanting to hit some of these states that border us. Like Eddie mentioned before, we literally the week that everything shut down here, we were scheduled to do our first show in Virginia, which it was a little tricky running out there because they have a athletic commission. So, and Tennessee does not. So we had jumped through all the hoops and got all the paperwork and everything to run that show. We promoted the show. We sold tickets to the show. And then, like I said, that week, everything got shut down. So Virginia is definitely on our list of places to travel just because we owe those people a show. And, we promoted a show out there. So we plan on at least making good on that. And then Eddie and I have talked about, a few other places. He's from Indiana. And so we're kind of wanting to get out that way just to kind of get in his home state. Georgia's right here nearby. North Carolina's nearby. Kentucky, I actually was talking to one of the guys that does ringside photography for us today about a building in Kentucky. So, pretty much anywhere that's within, 6-7 hour drive of where we live is kind of on our radar. And the good thing about our fans too is that they'll travel. So, we're excited about not only hitting new areas and developing a larger fan base in the South, but also, just it'll give us a chance to see just kind of what we have locally and how much those people will support us in other areas.
The cool thing on our end too is where we live, in East Tennessee, you're almost like on the border of everything. So you're on the border of both the Carolinas. You're close to Georgia. I mean, you're literally about a 2-hour drive from multiple states. So South Carolina absolutely is on the list. I mean, it doesn't take long at all for us to get in that area. North Carolina has kind of been on our radar. Indiana, like Cody was saying, going back to Georgia, definitely is something that we're looking forward to possibly doing now that things are starting to kind of clear up a little bit.
Yeah, and the cool thing too is, guys, is that we have people. Pretty much every show we run, we have people from, at least 5-6 different states that travel in. We actually have a carload of guys that are coming from Virginia that didn't. They were excited for the show we were running there, and since we didn't run, they decided they're going to come on to Tennessee. And we've actually had a guy that drove from New York to one of our shows as well back in the day. Yeah, we had Cody Rhodes come in, and this kid, I guess, told us. I say kid, he could drive.
He's in his 20s.
Yeah, he was in. He's a
kid to us.
He got on the train by himself without his mom.
Right, but no, I guess he told his family that for Christmas all he wanted was like gas money to get to Tennessee for the show. So they, he drove down and met us and everything, and told us, he's like, yeah, I literally drove from New York to come see the show. So that's really encouraging for us as well when it comes to traveling, because we feel like our product is good enough to where any location that we run at should be, we should be able to draw in a fan base.
And you guys have the well-known stars, but then you also on the undercard you have the upcoming stars, which could make a big name for themselves. So people could go be seeing Davey Richards and say, you know what, I actually like this guy on the undercard, or they could and they'll come back.
Yeah, that's actually one of our bigger things is there used to be a lot of talk with a lot of other local shows near us, that we book names versus names. And traditionally, a lot of people don't do that. They'll put a local guy versus a name. And that way it kind of elevates that guy. Well, our logic is like what you just said. If we're bringing in Davey Richards versus Matt Cross, well, those people. You know who those people are. You're going to come see that, but then you're going to be pleasantly surprised and become fans of guys on the undercard. So, I mean, that's something we've always kind of taken pride in, because, like I was telling you, some of these shows that are around here, that they were not that great, and we wanted to give people an outlet to watch really good wrestling. We've had shows. We've done joint shows with Impact Wrestling, where we had our stuff was being shown on Twitch, and people in India were watching NGW.
Wow.
I mean, for like an little indie show, based out of East Tennessee, that's pretty cool. And then on top of that, we get messages from people like from Morocco, just all over the place. I know when we sell tickets, we've sold tickets to people in Michigan for this show. So
really?
it's pretty wild that people, especially now, I think people want that outlet, and they want to get out and about and do things just because they haven't been able to. So I think people are really excited, and I think this show is kind of a good jumping off point for people to get kind of back in the swing of things. Like the last show we ran was November of 2019. So it's been, a long time coming for us.
Like I always say on the show, I don't know if you guys have watched like past episodes we've done, but like I'm like the one on the show that like tells the people, like, go. I know someone that our past guest told me I shouldn't tell them this, but I tell our fans always to go on the Wrestle Tees, I guess, whatever it's called.
Pro Wrestling Tees.
What's that? What was that?
Pro Wrestling Tees.
Pro Wrestling Tees.
Pro Wrestling Tees, and go buy a random wrestling T-shirt. You never know who you can get. Like they just go out and go pick up their T-shirt. Help out an indie promotion. I always say, like, the indies is the lifeblood of wrestling. People don't think it is, but it is.
It really is. And then, we have a great deal with High Spots, the High Spots Wrestling Network, which it's $9.99, the best $9.99 in the biz. Shout out Seth. We love that guy who does all the stuff with High Spots. But we, a lot of people during this, lockdown and stuff, people weren't running shows, so people weren't making money. Us, on the other hand, with us, being on High Spots Wrestling Network, Cody was getting a check every month, and we weren't even running a show. So those are good outlets. We have people from California telling us they've checked out the show from High Spots. So just kind of getting your name out there and getting the buzz going. I mean, Cody knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the same way with us. Like, we have fans in the UK, so now our fans are going to become your guys' fans as well. Yep. So
there's a few wrestlers that as I said before, to you guys, that I could say right now that if they're on Instagram, you could probably look them up. We got Dickie Rods. He's from Long Island. He's a Long Island wrestler, really good wrestler. Mm-hmm. We got Damian Wayne, Stockade. He's a hardcore wrestler. He's a big dude, big hardcore wrestler. We got Damian Wayne. He's I think he was the AIW champion.
I think I actually know Damian.
Damian Wayne's the unpredictable one. He's coming on actually the next week. Actually, we got a double booking that day. We got Echo Reeds. She's from England. She's she's like 7. She's like 19
Oh, wow.
year old. Yeah. And we also have Monday. We have I don't know if you ever heard of her. Oh gosh, horrible. I forgot her name. She's a creepy character. Oh my gosh, Lilith Grimm.
I'll have to check her out.
She is like, if even the Fiend would be like, she has white face mohawk, and she has like the black lines by her eyes. One picture I saw, I think she did a double choke slam on 2 girls, and she just pinned them. She put her hands on top, and she's just screaming in the ring.
That sounds awesome.
She's from the Mountain Valley Wrestling, and she's from OVW.
Oh yeah, that's not far from us at all. Where OVW operates, a lot of the people who perform for OVW, we have a lot of connections with guys like Cody would know the Tate Twins, and Facade and Danny Moe, who are the Neon Blondes, who are actually on this show. The International Superstars, Dream Girl Ellie and Blanco Loco. They also work for OVW. So where we're at is such a hotbed of wrestling that a lot of it's weird how the kind of the connections work, because once you kind of know one wrestler, you start to end up knowing everybody. So like a lot of these people that you're mentioning, I guarantee you, or sooner or later, we're going to cross paths with and have them involved in some kind of way.
We also have Jessie Mack. She's another Canadian wrestler. We're gonna have her on the show the 25th. And as I said before the show, I can't believe I'm saying this, guys. Breaking news: we have AJ. We are going to have AJ Ziegler on the June 24th show of Dudes at Ringside podcast from NJPW. What? That's insane. So yeah, here we go. I got a question for you guys.
Absolutely.
What is your dream roster that you guys would love to bring up? It doesn't have to be. It can be both now and back in the day. Who would be your dream roster to have on the roster? It could be past and present. Who?
Who would be someone that we think we would love to book, Cody? What would be our top dream match?
Well, I will say that my mind starts to creep into territory that we've already, things we've already done, because I know they worked. What's difficult for us, especially right now, is we're in the contract era, and as soon as you get a guy that you're really doing something with, and he's really getting traction with your crowd and all that, next thing you know, he's signed. I was joking with a guy at the gym a couple days ago. He was talking about how he was wanting to get into wrestling. And he's like, man, I'm 33 or something like that. He's like, do you think I still have a chance at making it at wrestling? I was like, dude, honestly, if you start training right now, you'll probably be signed next week, because everybody's just getting signed. And so when I think about our dream roster or some of the dream matches that we have, the best thing that I could wish for right now would be able to book some of the guys we've booked in the past that are now gone on and been signed, just because I miss those guys. So that's kind of where my mind is. But Eddie, you're more of a you're more of a historian. So do you have any like old school guys that you'd like to have on the show? Or
Oh, dude, I think guys that would, especially with our crowd, that would get over Brian Pillman.
Oh, yes.
Right on top of my head.
So you guys
'cause-
you're basically more like Joe, and you're pretty much more like the new school, right?
Yeah, I'm 30, about to turn 33 years old. I've been watching wrestling since I was born. I have an older brother who's 13 years older, and he watched wrestling before I was born. So I prefer a lot of different styles of wrestling. I'm not really into the whole deathmatch stuff. To me, I just don't get it.
Not me either.
I mean, if that people like that, that's cool, man, because it's all subjective. Like it's all opinion based. If you like it, if you like something, or if you don't. I mean, when I break down guys like like Ricky Steamboat and Flair, and like having those kind of matches to come through our territory and pack a house. I would love to have Flair and Steamboat. But when I think of like building like our dream roster, I think of guys who had full potential but never reached that full potential. So a guy like Brian Pillman is that person. Especially before he had his terrible accident and injured himself, injured his leg, and had to peel his face back and all that good stuff.
Really?
Yeah. But someone like Brian Pillman. But there's guys like Cody mentioned. Our former champion is Shane Strickland, aka Isaiah Swerve Scott. I feel like I got to bond with him quite a bit working with us, and I definitely miss that guy a lot. So, like Cody was saying, there was a bunch of releases, yesterday with WWE. Where WWE went on this kind of tangent of signing people, so it makes our job harder to try to find guys that have some name value. It's going to draw in a crowd, but also someone we want to kind of build to be a part of our brand. So when you see guys getting signed, like Shane Strickland was our champion, he literally dropped the title because he got signed by WWE. It makes it hard to have yourself that kind of roster. But like you were saying, you're building your roster. For some reason, Brian Pillman just popped right in my head as somebody that we could have shot to the moon and would have done great business with.
But which Brian Pillman, Flying Brian or Cuckoo Brian?
You could have done both. I mean, and our area is super known for Tracy Smothers. God rest his soul, passed away last year. And I think it was last year. Was it 2019? Was it the end of 2019 he passed away, Cody?
It was last year, actually.
Was it? Yeah. Where he could rile up a crowd and get everything going. So Brian Pillman in that setting as the loose cannon, gangbusters, man. You could put him in there with anybody. He would work everybody and get everyone all riled up. So, but for some reason, like I said, that's the first person that popped into my head.
Yeah. But like I said, there's a bunch of people that were released, and it's Aleister Black came to mind, which is now Tommy End's.
Oh, absolutely. I know he had a feud with Matt Cross in Germany. Matt was actually posting about it today. And as soon as Cody actually told me about the releases, I was at work and I didn't even realize what was going on. But Tommy End and Buddy Murphy were the first two guys that popped in my head of people.
Buddy Murphy would be awesome, by the way.
That could do great business for us and have great matches with anybody you put them in there with.
Mm-hmm.
Aleister Black would be good for any stable.
The indies are about to get really interesting because at the same time that you mention that it's the contract era, I feel like we're getting a little bit of a backlash from that where, you can't sign everybody and you start looking at the numbers and the money that you're spending on some of these guys and their contracts, and that's why these guys are getting released. It's all financial decisions or slightly creative, which, I mean, if you think about the creative standpoint, there's no way that you couldn't do something with Aleister Black. If you're a writer or a person who is responsible for putting together a pro wrestling show, tell me why. Like I was telling Eddie yesterday, he's such a unique character that there's no reason that he doesn't have a spot somewhere. So I guess the point I was trying to make is that it's going to be interesting in the next, year or two to see the guys that do end up back on the indies. And, so much is in limbo right now with Samoa Joe being a free agent. Like, is he going to sign somewhere? Is he going to start working the indies again? And that proposes big opportunities for us because, when it comes to us trying to travel and hit some of these other towns, anytime you have a guy like that on your show, it's just going to help expose your brand even more. So you don't like to see guys lose their jobs, but at the same time, we're waiting with open arms to bring some of these guys in and hopefully expose their full potential.
Also, not only that, you could help somebody like on the undercard, like I was saying before. Like you could bring Samoa Joe in. You could have like it wouldn't lose a draw. Like Samoa Joe's going over, but it would like help that wrestler to get over working with someone like Samoa Joe. So,
well, the way we kind of look at it, man, is even some of our guys that, like you guys would probably look at our show and say, that's probably a local guy. We don't look at them as local guys. We look at them as they are stars as well. And then we've had so many people come and tell us that they came specifically for this person who, I guess you could say is local, instead of just saying like, oh, we also came too because Matt Cross is going to be there or Davey Richards is on this show. So that goes back to where we had that issue where we said, we were putting names versus names. Other people may have put Davey Richards against a local guy. One of our top draws of the show is Matt Cross versus Davey Richards. That's the first thing you mentioned talking to us. So clearly we did something right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, trying to think. What is your favorite match to book on your when you do your matches, like your shows? Like stipulation wise.
It's funny because I'm always on Eddie about adding stipulations because it seems like a lot of times the talent is so, like, in my personal opinion, stipulations are thrown in when you need like a draw of some sort. You need to catch people's attention and bring them in and give them a reason to come to the show. And our shows are always so stacked with talent that a lot of times we forget that aspect of it. And I'm always telling Eddie, I'm like, dude, we need to, for instance, it's very minor, but at this show we're doing a 4-way elimination. And usually we would just do a 4-way, like just a 4-way, single fall. But I think that's somewhere where, when you actually look at what we're doing, where we could actually do a better job at incorporating some stipulations. So I think, that's a hard question to answer from my point of view. I don't know if Eddie has a different perspective.
We run into a lot of issues where we feel like Cody said, a match with a stipulation like that is used as an added draw. There's a lot of times we feel like it's going to make the match worse by adding that kind of stipulation. Personally, I like ladder matches because I grew up watching ladder matches. But at the same sense, I'm like, they're so physically demanding, and I don't want to put most of our talent through something like that. But at the same time, the selfish part of me, I love ladder matches. Fans love ladder matches. I love bumps off the ladder. I'm not the one taking the bumps off the ladder, so it doesn't hurt me. But I personally think anything having to do with a ladder match is always kind of a draw for me and something I like.
Myself as a fan, my favorite matches that when I've gone to the NYWC is a match they do over there. It's called the Psycho Circus. It's like it's like a cage match meets
it's basically a barbed wire match. There's thumbtacks, there's ladders, tables, there's everything in that match. So I think one year they actually had mouse traps on the match. So they really get creative.
Well, we've had some cool stuff too. I know one of our guys who's wrestled for us in the past, Lenny Stratton, during the whole Tide Pod debacle when kids were eating Tide Pods, he pulled out a bag and everyone thought it was thumbtacks and it was Tide Pods, and he pal drove a dude on Tide Pods and it got super over. So it's little things like that. We do. we do a lot of like street fights and stuff like that where tables are incorporated. I know we did a show at our last in 2019, one of our bigger shows called In Civil War, where we had AJ Gray, Mance Warner, and Matthew Justice from a lot of guys know those people from GCW and areas like that, and they just beat the hell out of each other, and it was one of the most wild fights. I mean, I wouldn't even call it a match; it was a fight that I've seen. I saw a man get Death Valley drivered onto a chair, and the chair wasn't set up. It was like cockeyed sideways and get dropped.
Oh,
it was the wildest shit, But when to me, that was one of the crazier matches we've ever had. I mean, there was doors, fans were ducking their heads because they were using doors. It was insanity.
What?
And
Doors.
yeah.
The doors.
Well, the thing about doors is doors are cheaper than buying tables, so that's
Yeah,
the
you can
gimmick of it.
put doors in this.
I'm gonna put somebody through a door instead of put somebody through a table. So
I mean,
up to two.
Cody can roll up to a Home Depot and get scratch and dent doors for $15, $20, and you go get yourself a table for like $40, $50. So it's like, what do you do?
That's
like
crazy.
ridiculous. It's like.
So how do you set up a door anyway? Do you set it up on the chair, or how do you set it up?
With 2 chairs.
Yeah,
two chairs, right?
I've seen them set up on 2 chairs. I've seen them set up in the corner. It was a wild scene. I mean, Cody, I think you could pretty much vouch for it. That match was bonkers.
Yeah, for sure. And while we're talking about gimmick matches too, like one that I think gets glossed over a lot, and it was quite a while back. I don't remember exactly what year it was, but we actually had a ambulance match.
Oh, yeah.
And that's one that you don't see a lot on the indies because obviously not a lot of people have access to an ambulance. So we had that as a surprise, and the fans got pretty stoked whenever the ambulance backed in the building. So that was one. I'm not sure what year that was, Eddie.
That was round 2, so that was 2017. Yeah, they actually fought on top of the ambulance, and it was Crimson and one of our local guys, Sean Hoodrich, and it was crazy. I mean, we also did a match with Sue Young, of course, most famous for being on Impact. She was feuding with one of our girls, Nicole Payne, and we had a legit hearse come in. There was one of our Halloween shows, and our hearse came in there, and she threw her in. That's how the match kind of ended. She threw her in her hearse. On top of that, she almost accidentally hung her. She had it was crazy. So that's another crazy match that we didn't.
You guys get creative with your shows, So
well, Cody has this mindset where if you go to an independent show and you're not surprised or you're not wowed, then you didn't really get your money's worth. So Cody's always kind of the guy getting the wheels going when it comes to things like that. He's like, man, what would you think about making this an ambulance match? I'm like, where the fuck are we going to get an ambulance from? And he's like, no, man, I know this guy. I'm like, you always know a guy. I'm like, well,
it's like me.
Who is this guy?
It's me.
Yeah, he's the one making the deals right here with all the wrestlers. And I'm like, oh. We got this wrestler coming on the show. I'm like, how'd you get him? He's like, I don't know. They just got him.
It's the same thing with that hearse, man. Like, he's like, hey, man. He's like, what would you think if we had a hearse show up at the show? I'm like, where the fuck are we going to get a hearse from? He's like, I know a guy.
like we got Stevie Ray from Harlem Heat. Only reason we got Stevie Ray is because I was on his Instagram Live, and he invited me in. Instagram Live, you just get invited in. And I started talking to him, and I mentioned my grandfather, and I told him to show him the picture, and I thought he was going to kick me out. I was in there for what, Geek? Was I in there like an hour?
Maybe it wasn't that long, though. His show doesn't go that long. It was like his 20 minutes, probably.
20 minutes, we sat there talking, and I said, I'm a new podcaster. This is like when we just started our podcast, and I said, like, have any advice? He's like, just get your name out there, man. Just get people to know you. And then I dropped him right before I left. I said, well, I just want to know, would you be interested in coming on the podcast? And he's like, give me a time and date. I'll come on.
That's awesome, man.
Geek freaked out. He's like, oh my God. I got off, and Geek went, he called me immediately. Oh my God. We're going to get Stevie Ray.
Well,
Stevie Ray.
it's funny you have those kind of moments because that's how it was with Matt Cross with myself and Cody, which is weird. You know, I met Cody about, damn, Cody, what, like almost 11 years ago? It was like 11 years ago. Wow.
Yeah.
So we met at a local show, and we became immediate. We had a click pretty much because we used to wrestle. We were awful wrestlers. There's no rhyme or reason why we should have ever been into a wrestling ring. But that's how me and Cody kind of bonded, and we became really good friends. Became drinking buddies, and of course now we're both married with kids, so it's all kind of like evolved from that. But when we first started talking about doing our own show, we were like, who's the one person that we never see, but we always loved? And it came down to Matt Cross. And that Matt Cross, I'd say the first quote unquote star we ever had, he showed up at our show and kind of blew us away. And it kind of it lit a fire under Cody, which this happens a lot, to where he wanted to just start going, let's do more, make the shows bigger. And then, before too long, Cody Rhodes got released, and Matt Cross and Cody Rhodes became like our big draw. And I know a lot of people are kind of have their opinions on Cody, but this was fresh right off, WWE. He hadn't even been in Ring of Honor yet. And he was doing big things for us. So, but like you were saying, meeting people and talking and kind of getting that bond, we've been in that situation, and it still happens now. Like, we were talking about Rich Swann, who's our champion. I mean, Rich Swann's our champion. That's like pretty damn cool. But there's situations where like we'll be at a show and he'll have his PlayStation, and he's like, "Hey man, you want to play?" And it takes me back because I'm always a wrestling fan. I mean, that's why we all love wrestling, because we're all fans. And it's like, man, I'm sitting here playing, like WWE 2K like 19 with Rich Swann. Like, what are they? It's cool stories like that.
That's
you know what I
cool.
mean? And that's what we look forward to. And then Cody and Matt and even with Rich, they've developed a really good friendship and a really cool bond. And that's something I feel like a lot of people wrestling wise don't bring up. Everyone's always really quick to be negative about things with wrestling, like the product that's on TV now. But we see it from a whole different light, where we're like, man, wrestling's awesome. We have all these cool friendships and all these bonds because of wrestling. And then, it solidifies that when we put on a show and our fans have missed being at wrestling shows, and it's almost like it's a family for them too. So I feel like, negativity wise in wrestling, there's not enough positivity.
It's hard these days with wrestling. It's really hard.
It is.
Yeah, it kind of all comes back full circle to what Stevie Ray was telling you as well, because it's like, yeah, really all you have to do is like just put yourself out there, man, and like get to know people, meet people, get connections. Like, it's just like what we're doing right now. Like, we've never met you guys, but we're just all chatting about something that we all four are passionate about. And, like we talked about before we came on here, like hopefully we can get your podcast over. Hopefully you guys can get our show over. And like, if just one person sees the podcast from our page and one person, hears about our show from y'all's page, and then you never know where that one connection might lead. And like Eddie was saying, developing all these friendships and relationships with these guys, it's really led to our success, because, if I need to get a hold of somebody, or I need, like we were talking about the hearse and stuff earlier. Well, if I, want to get a hold of, say, this just random, but like we were talking about Samoa Joe earlier. If I need to get a hold of Samoa Joe, well, I can pick up my phone right now and call Matt Cross, and he might not be able to get a hold of Samoa Joe, but he knows somebody that can get a hold of Samoa Joe. And then inevitably we get Samoa Joe on the show, and then the show gets, over because of that. So it's just like a big chain reaction. And it's the same thing with the podcast and all of us like chatting right now. It's just like, you really do have to be willing to, shake the hands, I guess you'd say. And it's just funny that Stevie Ray said that, because it's totally true in every aspect.
Mm-hmm.
He's another cool guy. He's very nice, very mellow. It's funny. We had him on the podcast, and the man didn't even want to talk about wrestling. We talked about rice and beans, collard greens.
And he was still cool with us. It was so cool talking.
Freaking hilarious. Yeah.
But Here's another suggestion you guys could have that you've never had one. How about this? A private jet match.
Private jet match.
Come on, Cody. You have to know a guy, right?
Man, I'm literally gonna have to go through my contacts on my phone and see. I do know a guy that has a pilot license, so maybe I can swing that up.
Dude, I told you, he knows a guy. He always knows a guy. And I've known Cody for this long. I'm like, how the hell do I not know this guy that you're talking to? Oh, I just know him.
I got a match for the girls, for the ladies, a Legally Blonde match. That would be like in a hair salon.
Oh God. Yeah, that's the thing, man. Like, there's all these cool matches that we want to do and stuff, and match types. I know Cody was talking about like that fatal 4-way match or the 4-way elimination match we're doing at our show. And the crazy thing is we have a title match at this show that we've not even announced yet. I think we're holding off till next week. So Rich Swann still has a title defense coming up, but we have not announced who that's going to be against.
Mm-hmm.
You guys don't want to do it here? That's
we gotta hold off.
You got to tease it here.
We gotta hold off, man.
That's a live mic right now, man. I don't know. A lot of people
you guys tease us, and then you don't say
nothing. Lives in Tennessee. He may want to come. You never want to bring his kids in the car.
I think right now, guys. I know we're running. The building does have a limited capacity because of still kind of COVID regulations. There's still a lot of stuff going on that could all change. By the end of the month, no one knows. That could change a day before show. So. With that being said, typically, we do sell tickets online, which we do it at nextgentn.net/tickets. And usually about the day before, we cut off ticket sales online. So far, since we've been doing that for a few years. This show has sold the second most pre-sale tickets, with the next show being our show that we did with Impact. And Impact was one of the biggest crowds that we had. And so we're really excited about that. So, pre-sale tickets are selling great. Like I said, people are ready to be back and enjoy wrestling. And so far, like we have announced 7 different matches. Of course, and like you guys were mentioning, Davey Richards versus Matt Cross. We're debuting Calvin Tankman, who's done a lot of things with MLW and Game Changer Wrestling. He's doing the Calvin Tankman Challenge. So we have a mystery opponent for that, which Cody loves. Having surprises at the shows because once again Cody knows a guy.
He knows a guy.
And then, man, on top of that too, guys, like we were talking about a lot of those. We have 2 mixed tag team matches with the international superstars. Dream Girl Ellie and Blanco Loco versus Facade and Danny Moe. Which Facade is actually from Pittsburgh, so he's not too far from. Probably not too far from your guys' neck of the woods, but we have them at our show quite a bit. They're kind of a staple of NGW. And then, of course, I'm trying to think of some more. We have the Petty and Pink, Dylan McQueen and Kenzie Page. Dylan McQueen has just been all over the place with AEW lately, doing stuff with AEW Dark. We actually have a wrestling school near us. That's ran by Dr. Tom Pritchard and Glenn Jacobs, a.k.a. Kane. Is based out of Knoxville. And Kinsey and Dylan were both students from that. And Dylan has gone on to Nightmare Factory and get training with Cody Rhodes Camp. So he's kind of all over the place right now. His gimmick is fantastic. He's known as the Gatriarch, and he's a talented dude. And then, of course, taking on Sue Young and one of our local guys, Kenji Brea. And there's so much that happened at this show that we're definitely excited to get the fans back in it.
Yeah,
that was going to be my next question, actually. What do you expect? What do you expect when people leave your shows? But you kind of answered it.
You want to answer it, Cody?
The question is, what do we expect when people leave? Is that what you're asking?
When the show's over. When the show's over, like the show ends.
So I'll just walk you through the process. Basically, it's chaos from the moment that doors open until the moment that the ring is completely locked up in the trailer and we're ready to leave. I do not advocate anyone being on their phone and driving at the same time. However, whenever I am leaving the venue, I always get on my phone and I'm always like vanity searching the show. So I get on Twitter and I'm just waiting to see like all the comments and stuff. And you know, a lot of times that is almost like the exhale for us, because it's like, you know, you have like a month or two where it's just build, and then the payoff for us is like seeing how everyone reacts to what we worked so hard for. And so that's why like I can't wait to get home to look. Like I'm just like trying to drive, but like trying to kind of just like see some of these posts, because you know, the fans that we have, you know, we're very fortunate here in our area to have developed a fan base that's they're very I don't know, man. I don't even know how to explain like the way our fans are. They're just so
Loyal.
What is it? Loyal, yeah, and die hard is what I was gonna say. So, you know, I don't know that we've ever just seen like a total negative review of the show, but it is great to, you know, there's a few local podcasts that actually talk about our show some. So that's always cool. We actually just last week had a Facebook page that someone created strictly to do news and results for our show. And Eddie sent it to me. He's like, "Hey, man, is this you?" And I was like, "No, this isn't me." So, like, just a random fan just made a complete other Facebook page just to do results and stuff. So those kind of things really make us feel good, because it's a lot of work that we put into this, guys. And I'm sure you guys have the same thing with the podcast. And, you know, at the end of the day, when you put so much time and effort into something, to be able to get the gratification of seeing people happy and enjoy the product, that really is a lot of people measure success in different ways, and obviously the financial gain is important and that keeps the doors open. But for us, what's really important as well is just being able to give people that escape from reality and know that we're doing a good job at providing that.
I know, but you guys are like a smaller independent promotion, but I know it's so hard that with this going on in the world, to not see your fans. You guys actually are you guys filming anything in any of the arenas? Like, did you show online?
Oh yeah, like I said, all of our shows are streamed through High Spots, the High Spots Wrestling Network. You can go to highspotswrestlingnetwork.com. They have an app as well, which is the High Spots Wrestling Network. So all of our stuff goes on there. We have all those guys that come out and film our shows. All of our shows are available on there to stream. We also sell DVDs and Blu-rays. Cody's was sending Blu-ray or DVDs from a show that we did like 3 or 4 years ago to somebody. I think where was it? Was it in Pittsburgh?
Somewhere in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. So, you know, somebody that's never seen our show live, you know, stumbled across it, and they wanted a physical copy. So, you know,
we love DVDs. So
yeah, DVDs.
That brings me back to Ring of Honor. It's right there.
Hey,
well,
that's it. When you said DVDs, that's exactly how I met Geek. Like the person said, "You should hang out with him." I'm like, "All right." Then he whipped out his ROH DVDs. He's like, "Want to watch these?" And I'm just like, "What is that?"
This was like 2002, 2004.
And we started watching, and I watched every one of the DVDs because he was like, "We got nothing else to do today, Saturday, but play SmackDown." And all we did was play Ring of Honor. We watched Ring of Honor from like sun up to sundown. And I was like, "I'm getting hungry. We gotta eat. Go get the cafeteria."
Yeah, man, and that's the lifeblood. I mean, I think a lot of shows. You know, when we first started, it was before, you know, streaming apps were real big. So a lot of people were like, we got to get on television. We got to get on local TV on Saturday at 10 a.m. But, you know, now that's not even a thought of people. Like, I don't have cable, man. And I don't know many people who do have cable anymore. I have 20 different streaming apps that I use that equal about the same amount I was paying for cable. Mm-hmm. But, you know, when you get the opportunity to be on, you know, a streaming app, you know, like High Spots Wrestling and, you know, being involved with Impact, who was on Twitch, like I was saying, we were reaching people in, you know, in Chile and like all these, you know, crazy places, like India. I think it was one of the places as well. that's the lifeblood, and that's what helps sustain us throughout the whole pandemic. Is people were still streaming us. People were still renting shows, and buying buying merch, buying DVDs, buying shirts, stuff like that. So that's kind of our lifeblood. But like what you were going back to, kind of what Cody was talking about, what kind of reaction do we want, from the fans? What will they have? I think there's going to be happy, man. And I think everyone deserves to be happy. After 2020 was awful for everybody. I mean, I know I don't know very many people who had a good 2020. So I think this is kind
Netflix.
of, we've said it. Yeah, we've kind of said, at the end of all of this, it's kind of a light at the end of the tunnel where we think, our big thing is putting these shows on is an escape from reality. I work a 40-hour-a-week job. Cody works 40 hours a week. This is our escape as well. So it kind of gives us even for a few hours to kind of forget about all the crazy shit going on in the world, all the political shit that had gone on in the world, all of, the pandemic, all of that's kind of on the back burner. And what everyone's there to do is enjoy and have fun. And I think, like I said, after 2020, we all deserve to have fun.
Exactly. Definitely.
I keep telling Geek whenever the New York Wrestling Connection does their show, maybe in July. We'll find out soon because Dickie Rods is coming on our show next Friday. And I pray to the wrestling gods that he has some news about that show. I want to hear something because I told this to Geek that I want to plan a day in July, if it's a July show, to go to Long Island to see a wrestling show, please.
Because there's been no wrestling shows since. I mean, you guys have been fortunate to have shows. I mean, have you had shows or?
There have been a few local shows that have ran. A lot of them, they said that, they have mask mandates. I wasn't there, so I don't know who was and who wasn't wearing masks and who was being careful. Our whole thing was we couldn't live with ourselves if we potentially got a wrestler sick and he died, worst case scenario, or, if we brought a fan, fans were at the show and they got so sick that they died, that we could never live with something like that. So we never even attempted to even want to run until we kind of got to a point where, where we are now. And it seems so dark, when we had to cancel our show for Virginia, because literally 2 days later we went on national lockdown of when that show was supposed to happen. Wow. So, I'm ready. I think we're ready. I think you guys are ready to get back to your local shows, and we're ready to start putting our shows on, man.
New York hasn't had a show since, was it March or April? I think the last show I was at was that show at the Barclays Center where Randy Orton actually RKO'd Beth Phoenix.
Yeah, right. That was like a week or two before.
It was 2 weeks before, they shut everything down. That was physically the last show I was at, and then there were no New York shows after that. Everything was flat out canceled, and I was like, great, and I'm still sitting here waiting for a wrestling show to happen now.
Sitting there like the skeleton emoji meme that waiting for another wrestling show.
So I want to tell you guys something that's actually funny you said that. So we have reached out to certain individuals to cut promos for us. And they keep saying, they're going to cut a promo for us, and we keep waiting. And I actually sent that exact meme to Cody today. I was like, yeah.
Yep, that's me and Lance. Me and Geek waiting for the show to start.
Waiting for promos, yeah.
You need to hire me as the guy that asks for that stuff, because I have promos on my phone.
He gets promos during interviews sometimes.
I got a guy from Australia.
Watchers and listeners of Dudes at Ringside podcast, hosted by Metal Geek and Joe Panther Jr. It's time to mask it up. It's time to spike it up. But most importantly, it's time to get supercharged, as I, the supercharged Velito from Melbourne, Australia, who's worked brands such as Adrenaline Pro Wrestling, GCW.
Got enough of that. But
see,
yeah,
why is that so hard?
Yeah, I just say, can you cut a promo? I used to just say, can you cut a promo? Now I go, can you cut a promo? And if you have the time, can you do a preview of the episode you'll be on?
Yeah.
And that's our
Forward.
that's the biggest area I think we would like some work on, and that's kind of out of our hands in that
If I was in
situation.
Tennessee, I'd be like, I'd be right hand man, dude. To the boss, I'd be like, okay. I work at a grocery store in where I live in Pennsylvania called Key Food. By the way, this interview is sponsored by Key Food in Milford. Like I stock shelves. I unload trucks. I'm one of those guys in the store. I'm the one and only Joe from Key Food, and I lift things up and put them down for my boss. If I could work for an independent wrestling federation or something like that on the side, that'd be pretty cool.
Well, I'll tell you guys what. Whenever we decide to get the wheels turning on this New York show that is apparently inevitable now, we'll definitely give you guys a buzz and
Never say never.
Yeah,
Never
for
say
sure.
never.
Definitely.
But do you guys have any? This is the big question. Do you have any stories you guys want to tell, or from the road,
Man,
or you can tell?
we what's a wild one that we could tell, Cody? We don't really have anything like too over the top. I mean,
Yeah, I have some that I definitely can't tell, but let's see. What are some good ones like to go home on here? We booked so many guys, man, and it's like, we did a podcast last week where Eddie was talking about we had Ultimo Dragon and Tajiri in.
yeah, that
And,
was interesting. That's a fun story where we had Ultimo Dragon and Tajiri on our show, and of course they had a translator with them. So I was tasked to drive them both back, all three of them back to their hotel, which is in near the airport. There was an airport Hilton, and I'm driving, and I mean this was in 2019. Yeah, it was in March of 2019, and I'm driving. I have this translator next to me. I have Ultimo Dragon behind me, and Tajiri asleep in my back passenger seat. And as a kid, I mean, I watched WCW. I was a huge fan of Ultimo Dragon. I grew up watching ECW and WWF and having Tajiri. And like I had to like take a minute because like Cody said, it's always kind of like hectic show days. And I'm driving, about an hour to the to this airport hotel where I'm dropping them off, and I'm like reflecting. I'm like, holy shit! I have Ultimo Dragon and Tajiri in my back seat. I'm like. And then I started thinking like the worst. I'm like, what if I get into a wreck? What if I am involved with hurting Ultimo Dragon and Tajiri? Like the wrestling world would never let me live this down. So then like anxiety kicks in. I'm like, I gotta get fucked. I gotta get there. Like I'm freaking out. So
Did Ultimo have a mask on?
I'll be honest, I can't remember. We did see him with his mask off, Ultimo, and it kind of was like, oh. Okay.
He's a very handsome man. Let me just put it that way.
Dude, for his age, fantastic shape. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Everything.
I'll tell you what really caught me off guard. I don't personally smoke cigarettes, but I mean, I know a lot of people that do. But I walked out to the back of the building and I saw Tajiri smoking a cigarette. And it just blew my mind because, like, you just always think of these guys as like being dudes on TV, and you don't think about like, I don't know, you just don't think about like those types of things that they do. And I'm just like, there's Tajiri smoking a cig, like just like hanging out, So I mean, I don't go ahead, Eddie.
The party bus from fucking Nightmare on Armory Road.
So we had this one show. We had Pentagon and Phoenix.
Oh crap!
We had
Saber,
Zack Sabre Jr.
Wow.
And then we had probably shouldn't say his name, but Joey Ryan.
Yeah.
Candice LeRae.
Wow.
And Shane Strickland.
Wow.
Was Matt Cross on that too?
I believe so.
And Matt Cross. Okay, so we decided our best method of action in transporting them from the airport to the venue, because it's about a 45-minute drive, was I was going to rent this big party bus. So, like the big buses that people like go on long trips on and all that. So after the show, which you guys have to put yourself in our shoes too, like usually where we run is outside of Knoxville in this little town called Newport, which it's a very like country town. Nothing ever happens there ever. Like nothing happens. People hang out at Walmart. Like that's what they do. So after the show, I'm in a bus full of the people I just mentioned. Zack Sabre Jr. is from England. Pentagon and Phoenix barely speak English. Joey Ryan looks like he's from like the 80s or even further back. Matt Cross got this long beard. And then, we all end up going into Waffle House.
Oh, God.
So we're in Waffle House in this town that, like, no one ever, like, they probably see the same 5 people every day in that Waffle House. And then we all just walk in, like, the most diverse group of people that you've ever seen. and, they don't know anything about wrestling, but, like, they're just staring us down, like, what is going on? And then the other part of that story is like the next morning, Pentagon messages me on WhatsApp, right? So because he has a Mexico phone number, so he has to use WhatsApp to like communicate. So he messages me at like 6 a.m. and it just says bro. And I'm just like, oh, I wake up at like noon that day because I was exhausted from the show. And I'm like, oh, no, this isn't good because he was supposed to get on his flight that morning back to Mexico. And so I get up at like noon and I message him back and I'm like, hey, man, what's going on? Like, is everything okay? And I just get a message back from Pentagon that he goes, bro, we in Mexico. And that's all it says. And I'm just like, I don't know. Me and Eddie just still joke about that all the time because it's like, it was just such a simple text, and like you could tell his broken English was like just we in Mexico.
It's funny. So now like Cody will like looking for me, say, "Hey man, where are you at?" I'm like, "We in Mexico." So that's kind of like our go-to.
So, wait.
It's our go-to thing.
So everyone was in Mexico. Was it Zack Sabre was in Mexico?
No, it was just
going on down there.
Too. So he's like, so it was him. It was Phoenix and Pentagon. But that was a wild show, man. And the amount of talent we had on that show was crazy. And our stories are never like wild, like where people were like doing like outrageous amounts of cocaine or stuff like that. Our stuff is like stuff like that, like. Like my stories consist of like Shane Strickland, me and him going to a burger joint and talking basketball for like an hour, and then picking up Matt Seidel because he overslept, going back to the hotel to pick him up and trying to find a Chipotle that was open. So it's like weird stuff. Like then Matt Seidel talking about different conspiracy theories, and it's just wild. Like same with Rich, man. Like traveling back with Rich and kind of bonding with Rich Swann and. Him talking, we talk conspiracies, so it's like 11:30 at night. I'm driving them back to the hotel near the airport. So that's where we always set up everybody, and we're like just talking conspiracies, just the weirdest shit. Like I'm a huge fan of Rich Swann, and that's what kind of persuaded us to kind of pursue him after he was released from WWE. So I'm like, man, I'm chilling here with Rich Swann. Talking conspiracies, talking the Illuminati, talking like talking like Bohemian Grove and these owls and shit. So like mock human sacrifices and stuff. That's what we're talking about the entire way. Yeah, so it's just like different conspiracy theories. So our stories are more so wholesome compared to some of the wilder shit that people may have seen, but that's what makes us love wrestling so much, and that's how we've bonded so well with these guys, and we love it, man. It's fun stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, that's some crazy stories, man. You guys have, Stevie Ray came on our show recently. This was our first guest we had. And out of nowhere, the clip is actually on TikTok. You guys can look it up. It's yeah. Joe knows where I'm going with this story.
Oh yeah, here we go.
He knows where I'm going with this story. So I told the story so many times. It's the most random. This thing is like people act so tough. He says people like Stone Cold act like he's tough. He's the biggest pussy on earth. Said it right on our podcast.
It's I had the cool mic. I had the headset, like the Jim Ross, and we're at the end of the reaction going.
So there's no secret to that because it's online, so you guys could watch it on TikTok, Instagram. So
you can. It's on Instagram, but it's also on TikTok, and like you could do it. On TikTok, you do the reaction like right next to it. Totally, if you have TikTok, do the reaction to it and be like, oh.
Yeah, we actually
just say that.
We actually just set up our TikTok today, actually. So
Ours is used at ringside.
But like, yeah, Cody. I mean, going forward. I mean, kind of hype the show, man.
Yeah, guys. I mean, I think we pretty much covered. You've covered most of the matches. I really don't know what more there is to touch on as far as the
actually
show.
have the poster also if you want me
Absolutely.
to show the poster.
Yeah, we can show it.
I'll show up the poster because I'll have it queued up right here. So
clearly it has a waffle restaurant theme.
Yeah.
For legal purposes, it's just a waffle restaurant theme.
That's what I was just about to ask. I guess that was Joey Ryan, Pentagon Phoenix going to Waffle House, I guess, right? Like, but that's where it came from, right?
It kind of built with Cody and a couple of our other guys like Matt Cross and Facade getting this thing they don't call it the Party Bowl, but that's what we call it. But yeah, man, I mean, it's definitely waffle restaurant themed for legal purposes. But yeah, guys, I mean, all of our tickets are on sale right now at nextgentn.net/tickets. All of our social media, we have, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and now TikTok at NextGenTN.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely give us a follow if you can, guys. It's pretty. We post a lot of. I got to get Geek to start making more clips, and so I could post it on TikTok. Just definitely dropping like with your roster. Tell them about us. We love to interview any of them.
Everybody.
Absolutely. If we get these guys to cut promos too, that'd be fantastic.
Hey, tell them we'll tell them to come on. I'll even say make a pro like big pro for us, but can you do a promo for your guys?
Well, man, I know Cody kind of set this all up, but we definitely appreciate you guys for letting us come on here and kind of promote our stuff.
No problem. We love having guests. We love. If I'm ever in Tennessee, I'll just have to hit you guys up on your Instagram and see if you guys are doing a show. Or if I'm with Geek, you tell Geek if you come to New York. I live in Pennsylvania, so I would have to come over on the nice train line. Help me! Oh, Geek, you left. I guess he disappeared.
He's on his way now. He's like so stoked for the show. He's getting in the car and heading this way.
He Eric Cartman to us.
No, I'm heading to Tennessee now. I'm actually going to go to the show June 27th. Actually,
yeah, guys. Yeah, June 27th in Knoxville, Tennessee, Jackson Terminal. It's in the old city in Knoxville, which is a cool little spot to go check out. It's our first time running in this venue, so we want to kind of blow everybody away with it. We got some cool surprises, talent-wise, match-wise, and even aesthetics-wise. So I'm definitely excited to get everybody there. And like I said, man, we definitely appreciate you guys letting us come on here and kind of shill our shit.
Yeah, guys. Yeah. Thanks again, guys, and we'll all stay in touch too, man. You guys just hit us up on the socials at any time, and maybe we'll come back on later on and update you with how the show went, and we'll have maybe some content to share with you and all that stuff. And you guys keep killing it with the podcast and doing what you're doing. And once again, we appreciate you guys your time.
And we could also do like when you guys come back on, we could do a giveaway. We could do like a guest question in the things. You could give away a T-shirt.
Yeah, man. We do decals, cool shit like that as well. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was gonna say when you do come back, you guys could probably promote your next show if you ever want to promote on our show. That's
absolutely
cool with us too.
We spoiler, we pretty much have that show completely booked up, that next one. So I'm really excited.
Oh wow! You can drop us a poster. Send Geek the poster. We'll have the background of the next poster.
Oh, we already have that made as well, man. We have that one going. Our next show is Uncivil War 6, August 29th. and also in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Oh wow.
By the way, thanks for coming on, guys. So, by the way, so if you guys have to go, so
Yeah,
thanks,
absolutely, guys.
Thanks, fellas. Yeah, we'll see you guys. Like I said, just stay in touch with us, and good luck with everything. And we'll talk to you guys real soon, I'm sure.
all
Thank
right.
you.
Good luck with you guys too with
All right.
the show.
Thanks, guys.
All right, knock 'em dead.
We appreciate it, guys.
All right, bye.
Wow, that was cool.
That was a cool interview, Joe. Right?
The Geek, do you wanna punch out?
We could go a little bit longer if you want to go a little
All
bit
right.
longer. But so, what'd you think, Joe? That was a great interview, dude. Right?
That was cool, man. I was like, yeah, I love talking to like people that they know what they're talking about. They own an indie fed, and it's something we love the most, Geek.
We love independent wrestling
We
because
love independent wrestling. We love making them look good, and we love helping them any way we can. We're the ringside dudes.
Yeah,
we gotta
ringside dude. We're the dudes at ringside. You mean?
Whatever. We're at the ringside dudes, right? We're the dudes at the ringside, but we're ringside dudes.
Yeah.
But yeah, we love to help any way we can. We're showing up a show, standing in the front row, standing in the back row because we can't afford the front row seats. Like helping up any way we possibly. Give them showing their background, having us their background as the thing.
That's cool though, right? And you guys
I'm still trying to get AJ Ziegler to agree on the time. He wants to go on earlier.
All right.
That's cool.
But anyway, I just want to thank everybody for coming on the show, by the way. Thank you so much. And I guess we're going to be punching out right now, Joe. What do you think? This is Geek. Make sure you don't have to, but you could always donate to us. Streamlabs.com/dudes at ringside. But then the link description below. They can't see that on Spotify.
But my baby, no, my
remember, you don't have to, but you could always leave a tip for me, the Geek. Joe, you want to close it?
Too. And just as I say all the time, support your local wrestling, indie wrestling federation. And thank you to my grandfather. Thank you to my cousin. Thank you to my grandfather, Jose Quinones. Thank you to Pete Sanchez. And thank you to my uncle's godfather, Frank Martinez, for lighting the way for all Latino wrestlers. Good night, everybody.